You call yourself human, but what does that actually mean? Before cities, before language, before fire, there was something else. Something that looked nothing like you, and yet it was you. The first you that ever existed. This is the story of how a small, forgettable ape became the only species in the history of Earth to ask the question, who am I? 7 million years ago, there was no such thing as a human. There wasn't even a chimpanzee, not exactly. There was one creature, one lineage, and inside its genes, a fork was about to happen. We don't know its name. We don't have its skull sitting in a museum with a neat little plaque. Scientists call it the last common ancestor, the final creature whose descendants would split into two paths. One path led to modern chimpanzees and bonobos. The other path led to us. Around this time, in what's now Chad, in Central Africa, a creature called Sahelanthropus chadensis was walking around. Its nickname is Tumai, hope of life in the local Goran language. Its skull has a strange mix of features, an ape-sized brain, but a spine socket positioned like it walked upright. That's the first clue. Before big brains, before tools, before anything we'd recognize as human. The very first thing that separated our branch from the rest of the animal kingdom was standing up. Here's a question that doesn't get asked enough. Why would an ape stand on two legs? It's slower. It's less stable. It exposes your whole body to predators on the open savanna. But upright walking freed something extraordinary. The hands. Once you're not using your arms to walk, your hands are free to carry things. Food, infants, tools, and for the next several million years, evolution kept rewarding creatures who could do more with their hands. By 4 million years ago, Australopithecus, the genus made famous by the fossil Lucy, discovered in Ethiopia in 1974, was fully bipedal. Lucy stood about 3.5 feet tall. Her brain was roughly the size of a chimpanzee's. She was not smart by our standards, but she was walking on the same two legs you're walking on right now. For nearly 2 million years, that's it. That's the whole innovation, just walking. Slowly, patiently, evolution was setting the stage for something bigger. Then, around 3.3 million years ago, something changes. Archaeologists in Kenya found stone tools, deliberately shaped, sharp-edged rocks that predate even the genus Homo. Someone, or something, was smashing rocks together with intention. This is huge. Tool use means planning. It means understanding cause and effect. It means looking at a rock and seeing not what it is, but what it could become. Around 2.4 million years ago, a new creature appears in the fossil record. Homo habilis. Handy man. Bigger brain. Better tools. And for the first time, we're using the word Homo, the same genus name that includes us. But habilis wasn't alone for long. Around 1.9 million years ago, something remarkable walks out of Africa. Homo erectus was different, taller, leaner, a body built almost exactly like ours. Long legs made for covering distance, not swinging through trees. And erectus did something no hominin had ever done before. It left Africa. Fossils show up in Georgia, in Indonesia, in China. This is the first great human migration, 1 million years before Homo sapiens even existed. Why does this matter so much? Because it proves something essential about who we are. We are a species built to leave, built to wander, built to look at the horizon and walk toward it, just to see what's there. Homo erectus also likely controlled fire. Evidence from sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa suggests deliberate fire use around 1 million years ago. Fire changes everything. Cooked food means more calories, more efficiently digested, which means more energy available for one very expensive organ, the brain. Homo erectus survived for almost 2 million years, longer than we've existed. Longer, probably, than we ever will. Here's something most people don't realize. For most of human history, there wasn't just one human species. There were several, walking the same earth, sometimes the same regions, at the same time. Homo neanderthalensis, the Neanderthals, lived across Europe and Asia for over 300,000 years. They weren't the grunting brutes of old cartoons. They buried their dead. They made jewelry. They may have made art. Their brains were, on average, slightly larger than ours. There was Homo floresiensis, a tiny human, nicknamed the Hobbit, that stood about 3 feet tall, isolated on the Indonesian island of Flores. There was Homo naledi, discovered in a South African cave system so difficult to access that researchers had to be small enough to fit through an 8-inch gap. And evidence suggests they may have deliberately placed their dead there. And there was Homo sapiens, us. For a period of overlap, at least 4 or 5 human species were alive on Earth simultaneously. And then, one by one, they vanished. Except one. We are the last human standing. Not because we were inevitable, because we were, for reasons still debated, the ones who survived. So what did Homo sapiens have that the others didn't? It probably wasn't raw strength. Neanderthals were stronger. It probably wasn't brain size. Again, Neanderthals win. The honest answer is, we don't fully know. But here's the leading theory, and it's a beautiful one. We could imagine things that don't exist. Historian and author Yuval Noah Harari calls this the cognitive revolution, the moment around 70,000 years ago when human language became capable of expressing not just, there's a lion by the river, but the lion is the guardian spirit of our tribe. That sounds small. It isn't. The ability to believe in shared fictions, gods, nations, money, laws, human rights, is the ability to organize thousands, then millions, of strangers around a common idea. A troop of chimpanzees can cooperate in groups of maybe 50. Humans, using shared belief, can cooperate in groups of millions. That's not a biological advantage, that's a storytelling advantage. Every empire, every religion, every corporation, every currency you've ever used, all of it exists because enough humans agreed, together, to believe in something invisible. Around 45,000 years ago, something shifts in the archaeological record. Suddenly, there's an explosion of stuff that serves no survival purpose at all. Cave paintings in Indonesia and France, carved figurines, flutes made from bird bone, beads for decoration. Why would a species fighting for survival every single day spend precious time and energy making art? Because somewhere in those 100,000 years, a new hunger was born, one that had nothing to do with food or shelter. The hunger to be understood, the hunger to leave a mark, the hunger to say, I was here, I felt something. Let me show you. That handprint on a cave wall, tens of thousands of years old, is the oldest signature in history. It's someone saying, across an unimaginable gulf of time, I existed. Do you see me? You are still asking that same question every time you post a photo, write a song, or tell a story around a fire. So, who are we? We are the descendants of a creature that stood up on a savanna for reasons we still don't fully understand. We are the descendants of wanderers who walked out of Africa and never stopped moving. We are the last of at least 6 human species that once shared this planet. The survivors of a story where most branches simply ended. We are storytellers whose greatest evolutionary weapon wasn't a claw or a fang, but a shared belief that let strangers trust each other enough to build cities, write laws, and reach the moon. And we are the only species on Earth, as far as we know, that looks up at the stars and asks why. That footprint in Tanzania, pressed into wet ash 3.6 million years ago by one of our earliest ancestors, is still there, preserved, waiting. It's not so different from the footprint you left this morning walking out your front door. 7 million years, countless dead ends, multiple human species that no longer exist, and somehow, against staggering odds, a line of survivors that leads directly to you, watching this, right now. You are not separate from that story. You are that story, still being written. So the next time someone asks who you are, you can tell them the truth. I'm the result of 7 million years of standing up, walking forward, and refusing to stop.